You're listening to Tech and Gaming for a Better World on GMODISM. Well, hello and welcome to Gaming and Tech for a Better World with the GMODISM channel. I'm Eric, and this is
Carrie.
And we are your hosts during this podcast.
For better or worse.
For better or worse. This is, of course, a first episode / pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
There is probably going to be more, but it depends a little bit on the reception, of course, since we didn't put out anything yet.
No.
And the topic for today is...
AI.
AI.
Is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Especially in relation to game dev and...
I think so, because I would say that's where it's been sort of a hot button issue, like where it's been the most applicable.
Yeah, so. This is of course a gaming and tech channel, so it's very applicable with the gaming development aspect, even though, well, we don't develop any games yet, at least.
No, I mean, I can do some modding, but that's about it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can't.
I mean, if you give me like half an hour to 40 minutes... I can hex edit something if I really need to, and there's no other way around it. I will sort of delve into, but that's about as techy as I get.
Yeah.
I'm very like I need the UI, you know. I don't need the zeros and ones. I don't know what to do with those. So
I know the most rudimentary coding ever, and that has very limited uses, of course. But with the help of AI, I have been able to make some very small softwares which might be showing up on the channel sometimes.
It is that advanced now, huh?
It is that you can... I have basic knowledge of Python, and I mean really basic.
Right. Well,
really basic, but
yeah.
I can generate Python code. So AI generation is going to have a big part in game development as I see it.
Of course it will. I mean, it already has. It is... I find it sort of funny now, because I feel like the... like, if you go on... Twitter. I'm not going to say X. I'm going to say Twitter because it's been Twitter for however many years. Anyway, the things that you see on Twitter where it's like, oh, they're using AI to develop video games. And then half the time it's like, because AI has been in video games for such a long time. Usually it pertains to sort of how the game is played. That's where the AI component in development, that's new. But I feel like sometimes people hear like, oh, they're using AI in this video game, and they're just talking about like, you know, a fighting game, like the opponent's AI. And then people sort of get that confused now because the debate has ran so hot about like AI in dev, right?
Yeah, it can be difficult too. Like, I don't know much about the game development assets, but of course I've been using some AI to generate 2D images to use. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have some channel art on this YouTube, and some of the assets you see in that is like AI elements combined with non-AI elements, which I just pieced together.
Yeah.
So for me, as like a creative person, it's very helpful.
Yeah, of course.
With AI.
It is. I think it's one of those things where I think, I mean, AI lowers the bar to entry.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it is. And I think the crux of the issue, if you will, is sort of, are we using AI to help us, or are we using AI to replace otherwise sort of, let's say a video game artist, right? Like a concept artist, let's say. That person could very well use AI in order to help them with their workflow.
They
right?
kind of already have for like 2-3 years now.
Of course, right.
All the concepts artists do now is basically being prompt engineers, or many of them, not all.
I suppose, but that's the thing, right? I'm talking about the difference between like having a concept artist who uses AI to help them in sort of doing what they do versus hiring, let's say, an AI and then having the AI do everything. And sort of the importance of, if we're talking about like video games as art and all that sort of thing, which I'm very much into, you know, the importance of like the human touch.
Yeah, of course, hiring an AI is basically hiring a person who deals with AI and can do things with it.
I suppose so.
But if you hire someone that can use AI as a tool,
right,
you'd need like one person instead of 10, or dependent on the task. But that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And when we're looking a lot with, I know we talked a little bit about ChatGPT before,
Yeah.
and you feel you can recognize when it's written.
Sometimes, yes.
Sometimes.
Not all the time, of course. If you, I don't want to do a pop quiz right now because I'm going to fail and I'm going to look bad, so I don't want to do that. No, but I feel like generally speaking, in the same way that if you or I were to write about a subject,
Yeah.
especially I've noticed because I work in customer service, right, and that involves writing a lot of emails. I have a very particular way of writing my emails. Like I have a particular style, right, and so do you.
Yeah.
In writing, let's say in this case, and I think that the thing about that is you can tell stylistically when something is done by an AI. And I would suppose that's because the AI is pulling from a very specific pool of references.
A very wide pool of references, but it also has a very wide tone. It has a very professional and friendly tone. But the thing is, you can ask the AI to use another tone.
I suppose, yeah. It does default to that sort of corporate thing, though, which I think is what I'm sort of, when I think of like a piece of text or a paragraph written by AI, that's what I think of. That
sort of professional.
That sort of
mark.
Yeah, that sort of corporate speak kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can almost promise you, if I write some texts sarcastically and I ask an AI, especially ChatGPT 4, which I buy every month.
Then, it's a subscription service?
Yeah, they have ChatGPT 3.5, that's free.
Okay.
And anyone can use it.
Sure.
But ChatGPT 4, the latest model, it's much better. And I told you this before, if you remember.
Yeah, I think so.
But the 4 is so much better.
Right.
And that costs like something every month. It's not a lot, but it can be useful.
It's not like Adobe levels of price gouging.
No,
hopefully, right?
It is not. It's of course in development too, but I do.
That's the biggest one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the biggest one, and I do use it for especially things outside like the YouTube channel work.
Right.
For writing some professional emails and stuff like that, I can, and it's good. And if I use the ChatGPT 4 and I tell it, write this sarcastically,
right,
it will sound very human. It will be hard. I think you will have a hard time telling it.
Of course.
Because then we're beyond that corporate speech.
No, but I think what it does is the more you specify, the harder it gets, right?
Yeah.
Which is, again, with sort of visual, like AI art, for example, there are still some tells there where you can tell, like, oh, I mean, the hands and fingers thing, that's been mostly resolved as far as I can tell. But there's sort of a gloss to it very often.
Yeah.
Which I think is easier to sort of that gloss, which in text would be like a very corporate mannerism or a way of expressing yourself. That's easier to hide, you know. But I think again, it's interesting you'd say that you'd use like AI outside of the YouTube thing, right?
Yeah.
Or in general, like
if I'm out of time and it's like a boring channel description for like a tech tutorial video and it's really just about the title of the video says the description, then I say use this title and write me a description.
Right. Yeah.
It's very easy.
Yeah, and I think again that depends on what you want to do. For in this case, the description box is not the point, right? Whereas I would say if you are, let's say you're a writer, or even in school, this is tangential to video gaming, right? But even the rise of like ChatGPT, using ChatGPT to write your essays in school for you, at that point I'm like, the whole purpose is for you to, and we don't have to talk about school systems because we don't have time, but in general I'm like, the point is to write an essay, and you're having an AI do that for you. What's do you know what I mean?
What did you learn?
Well, it's not even about that. I'm just thinking about like if for example, let's say you have a concept artist for a video game.
Yeah.
And then all that they're doing, there's no manual. Let's I don't know if this is how it goes down, but let's say there's no like manual touch-ups, no nothing, and they just feed a little prompt into the little generator thing.
Yeah.
And then, the AI just spits out whatever it spits out, and then they just leave it like that. I'm like, are you really a concept artist? Do you know what I mean? I feel like we're sort of, if you're using AI to not to supplement or to support you, but to do the thing that you're meant to be doing, I don't necessarily know that that's sort of the best way to use it in this case, right? Because, for example, I again, the human touch, I'm very big on that. And again, for a YouTube video, I would understand.
Yeah.
It's the difference between like having the YouTube video itself be AI, made by AI, versus having the description box be a little
Most
AI
people
blurb.
don't read the description box, and the purpose for
Half the time they're copy paste things anyway, right? Like a generic.
yeah, of
sort
course, like
you know.
the purpose of the description box, like me as a YouTube creator know this, of course. The purpose
Content creator, that's the word I was looking for. There you go. There you go.
the purpose is not for people to read the description box when it comes to a video that is specified to show up in search.
Right.
Like how to install NVIDIA drivers, which I have done many videos about. It's
How
like,
hard could it be?
well, you'd be surprised. A lot of
GeForce experience, you guys. Maybe that's
things like that.
maybe
a
that's
lot
like a casual thing. I don't know. I'm sorry.
a lot of people do not understand that NVIDIA graphics cards are hardware. They think it might be software. They're
Oh,
not
I
sure.
see. Oh, I
They might
see.
think it's kind of like MSC Afterburner or something you install and you get better FPS. So
Right.
some
yeah.
people they don't really know about that. So in the videos I always explain you have to have the hardware to be able to install this. And some people want to do a clean manual install, like. Now I use NVIDIA GeForce
Right.
experience, and I probably will uninstall that because it
Right.
actually draws some FPS from me, and
Does
I
it?
don't. Yeah, it lowers your FPS a slight bit since you have to manually close off some routines that are able to record things. If you record using
Well-
NVIDIA Shadowplay, of course, GeForce experience is great, but if you don't. I feel that to manually install the driver is better.
Well, or you could just disable Shadowplay. But again,
Yeah, you could.
that's sub menu. That's also like sometimes, especially NVIDIA, I feel like, but in general, sometimes you have those things where it's like, oh, this is a bonus feature, like Shadowplay, let's say. Nobody's using I mean, I wouldn't think somebody's using GeForce Experience for Shadowplay specifically.
Some people do, but
I suppose, yeah, you know,
it's a good recorder.
of course, Fraps is what, 2006, right? Like nobody uses that anymore.
Now, everyone uses OBS, like this time. But I think when it comes to GeForce Experience and Shadowplay, it's that if you play a game and you don't want to fill up your hard drive with a recording,
Right.
you can just hit save the last 15 minutes because I did a
Right.
cool headshot.
Yeah, no, but no, exactly, no, because I think especially with those sort of bonus features, like I would say Shadowplay is not the main feature of the GeForce Experience suite, let's say. And of course they would hide the little button to like disable. It's like if you've ever if you've ever installed a new Windows computer, the first thing I always do is I go in there and I disable the
There is a nice solution for you.
the cloud thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
all
remember what it's
that
called.
telemetry services and weird things they affect.
I mean, to be
your
honest, they
background.
can track me all they'd like. I
Yeah,
don't
but
care,
it steals from your performance. That's the
I
nice part.
suppose, yeah.
But there is like tools that are free. There is one tool I've used on the channel before, Shut Up 10.
Okay.
Has a interesting name, but it disables a lot of those telemetry services automatically with just a click of a button. It's pretty handy.
Interesting.
Would recommend. But I also feel we should probably move back to the AI sector, even though
Probably, yeah.
NVIDIA graphics cards is very important in the AI transition due to
They've been spearheading it.
yeah.
At least like in terms of using the technology for again, I think the difference with how NVIDIA does it is they're not using AI to create anything new necessarily. They're using AI to optimize, which is something that I'm very much for, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know if you play Cyberpunk, right? Let's say, because that's like the big sort of benchmark game right now for NVIDIA especially. It's like you hit that little thing where
It kind of upscales it.
yeah, well, the AI upscaling, right? You hit the AI upscale, and then to the human eye, it's like there's no difference, but then you gain like 20, 30, 40 FPS. Like, it's a crazy amount.
It's pretty weird. You can render a game in bad resolution and then just use AI to put it up back to good resolution, and you kind of win. performance doing
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
That's like, whew, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because then it means like maybe you play a game in 720p and upscale it to, well, regular HD or 1440p or something,
Right.
like most people do. But as the AI gets better, perhaps we can like render a game like 240p, like the saddest YouTube resolution,
Right.
and just upscaling it to like 4K and making it look good.
Yeah.
That can really like transform, maybe making the gap between people who can afford expensive gaming computers and can have a high FPS experience and those who can't afford.
Of course, but again, then we run into another issue, which is that all of NVIDIA's tech is proprietary, and they hike that price up as much as they possibly
It's
can.
a high price tag.
It is. It is.
It's kind of hard for like a few years ago. It was hard for gamers to get a graphics card
Yeah.
due to AI companies buying all of them, and the rest that AI companies didn't buy were bought by Bitcoin miners.
Right.
And then the gamers had to like kill each other for the last few GPUs.
Yeah. Like the remember when the PS5 sold out when they released? There was a big shortage of those as well. Anyway, AI, right? NVIDIA, moving back from that.
Moving back from that, we need to talk about how AI will simplify game development contra make everyone have super high expectations on what they want to see.
Right.
Because AI can do a lot, like really good detail, and I imagine that when it comes to like some images, you can see their AI. It's not that hard. It's getting better though.
It
It's
is,
getting
but
so hard.
again, you know, like those like Facebook memes,
Yeah.
of like, or like the memes of like old people on Facebook, and then it's a clearly AI generated image, and they're like, "Oh, this is so beautiful," you know, like
people tricking boomers on Facebook with
right?
AI.
But I mean, and it's like, and maybe those are like egregious examples, but I feel like there's always sort of a gloss to it. There's a very literally, I feel like there's sort of a sheen to every image.
Yeah, it's
The composition is just a little bit too perfect. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's too clean, too nice, too. There is a little uncanny valley area,
Right.
where everything is a little bit too perfect. There is not enough gritty, interesting imperfections.
Right.
They, especially ChatGPT's DALL-E 3, which is the only image generator I use if I need something.
I've used that before, I think, just for fun, just toying around with
And
it.
you probably used the earlier versions.
Probably,
Yeah.
yes, because that was a while ago.
Because the one DALL-E 3 I have is only per subscription.
Probably.
And it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, it does illustration much better than it does anything else. So as for illustrations and 2D images, it can be very difficult to see that it's an AI generated image. Like if you go to my channel page on the desktop and you see like the channel banner, there is like an image of me with like a frame with some text in it. That frame, as for like Patreon supporters, and that frame is AI generated. The frame, not the rest, but just the frame.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And it's impossible to see it's AI generated. It's just a frame.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of really beautiful and super impressive games, they use pixel art.
Right.
How are we supposed to tell if a pixel art has been like hand dotted like this, or if it's an AI image downscaled or just? I think AI can probably generate pixel images too. Maybe not DALL-E 3, but I think Stable Diffusion or whatever it's called is a little bit better. I think that's the Discord-based one.
Maybe.
And the Stable Diffusion, that's a really interesting one, because you can make photorealistic images using Stable Diffusion. And the way you do that is you prompt it with some really weird...
It's like hyper specific.
Yeah.
I find those just like reading the text prompts by themselves. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It's like, I think they made it instant camera 80s hip hop aesthetic.
Okay.
Is a vibe prompt you can specify to it, and it will make an image that looks like it was taken with a normal camera with semi-bad lighting conditions.
Yeah.
And it looks so real. It looks so real.
It's interesting. No, I think I was thinking about because Because illustration, well, by illustration, do you mean is that like a specific, like a pencil drawn sort of style, or because like what you said about pixel art, for example, it's like if you put together a pixel art image, which is very, by nature, pixel art is very sort of, you color by numbers, right?
Yeah.
Red can only go where red is supposed to go. It's hard to explain what I'm thinking of, but I mean, like, there's only so many ways you can do pixel art. And again, for illustration, you sort of broaden that a little bit. If you do like a pencil illustration, again, there's only so much detail. And I think the detail is really where AI sort of struggles a little bit still.
Yeah,
to see the detail. Even if the detail can be very granular sometimes, but I think that works against it, because sometimes I feel like it tries to add stuff that isn't really there.
Yeah, it wants to add random shit.
And you see that with I mean, I don't care that much about graphics, but I watch what's that other web show on YouTube? Tech what's it called?
I don't know.
The name is escaping me right now.
A show on YouTube.
Yeah, but it's a tech show on YouTube, basically, where they benchmark games and they do all these sort of really nerdy, like, hardware based comparisons and this sort of stuff. I really am embarrassed that I can't remember the name of it right now. But
there are a lot of them, though.
There are, but this is like the big one. Anyway,
Jay's 2 cent, maybe.
No, this is tech. Whatever. You know what? It'll come to mind in like 5 minutes from now. It's fine. No, what I was thinking of is I watched one of their, like, again, cyberpunk comparison videos, right?
Yeah, the new Skyrim.
Exactly.
The new Crisis.
Yes. Oh, the new Crisis, literally. And the AI, even with the upscaling, which is very clean, that it does introduce, like... No, see, this was the interesting thing, right? Because without the AI upscaling, you lost a little bit of detail just due to the nature of the rendering process in the distance, so to speak. Like, you'd lose some detail, which the AI, for some reason, somehow would be able to recreate. So, like, sometimes the upscaled image was actually more detailed than the sort of base original image, right? Which I found very interesting. So in that case, that definitely is a perk, right? But I think in terms of creating 2D art, it can get pretty tricky. I don't necessarily... I've seen some... I mean, the stuff that I've seen of, like, AI-generated 3D models, those have all been, like, sponsored Twitter posts.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know that that's really representative of the truth, but those have been very impressive, too. And I think maybe the 3D space is where AI really thrives. Upscaling is one thing, but that's restorative. That's not really... You're not really creating anything new.
There is a very interesting upscaling tool, which we'll just have to look on the channel later. I want to do a comparison video because it's a free AI upscaling tool, which you download to your computer, and it will use whatever performance you have available for processing. Like if you have a GPU, it will use it. It will be faster, but it does it locally. It's not a cloud-based. It's upscaling images locally, and it's free. It's called Upscale. I downloaded it, and I tried a different few images to upscale stuff.
Yeah, but this is specifically like 2D images then?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's 2D images. And
I guess you wouldn't... A personal computer that you'd have in your home wouldn't have the processing power for anything else. That's fair.
Upscaling textures, yes, but not...
right, yeah.
But it does a very interesting job because you can choose a different number of models. And it has the best model so far is the anime-based model.
I've heard about this, I think.
It's like Wi-Fi 2X but better.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, because I've used it before for like upscaling 2D images because it's pretty good. Right. But it cleans the image up, the upscale one. It cleans it up and makes it like larger. But in a really interesting way. It really keeps much of the detail and it's really good. And that's a free one. Yeah. Because there is a upscaling tool which take 2D images, like if, for example, you have bad AI generated images or something of shitty, and they use AI to upscale it, and it looks really impressive.
Right.
It can add so much detail. I don't remember what it's called now, but you have to pay a pretty hefty sum for that tool.
Right.
It's, however, cloud-based, so I guess that's what they're taking.
Digital Foundry. I had to look it up.
Okay.
That's who I was thinking
That's the
of.
channel you were speaking.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. But it upscales AI images in a super interesting way, so it looks hyper-realistic. And I see that that could be implemented real time for 3D images later on.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe it, I don't know, it depends how fast they can do it. But if we just imagine having infinite processing power,
Right.
you could take like the 2D feed from the video game,
Right. Of course.
potentially,
Yeah.
and then just
with
upscale it.
whatever's being rendered, right?
Yeah, and just render it real time with all this detail.
Yeah.
It could be some artifacts that are just popping up and being weird.
Of course.
But
you get those with Cyberpunk. The
Yeah.
sort of the upscaling there, the shadows are a little bit funny sometimes, and it's getting better and better every day, of course, or with every update that they make to it. But that's interesting though, because I feel like, yeah, being able to sort of put a filter on it to sort of alter the presentation that much. That's interesting. That seems like something that would eventually. I don't know though. That feels very niche. You know what I mean? Of course, if you put that in a cloud, and the cloud has all of the reference it needs, both in terms of like what you're projecting the filter onto and what the filter itself is supposed to look like. It's an interesting thought, but like I don't know.
the thing is that
I don't know how applicable that is. You know what I mean?
but the upscale app, which is free, it's already pretty good, and it's of course not as good as the paid one. But in like 5 years, how good will a potential free like upscale thing that you can download for home be? It can be pretty good because AI has already made a stock photo industry obsolete.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with those upscale tools, you can take you can generate a semi shitty like AI image that just looks kind of nice, and then you just upscale it and you get perfect like 4K 8K resolution, and you can like sell it. And a lot of people have been doing that for years, and now there is like I think well, off topic, but stock industry is pretty dead to
I think
stock
so.
microstocking.
It has been for a while.
It has
I think. You know, I don't know.
But the question is, using all these AI tools, will it just make that all the game developers and people having all the skills to really put that art and human touch on it, will it just make all of them having no jobs? Or will it just empower anyone to make a good game?
Well, it will empower people to make games. I don't necessarily know that they'll all be good games. We talked about this earlier too, right? The sort of the Unity asset flip, right?
Yeah.
Which the Steam store is rife with them. The Nintendo's.
Some of my favorite
games.
It's like From the Depth. It's made with Unity, and it's a pretty good game. And now when I start the game, they removed that sometime, but now the made with like Unity pops up.
Okay.
And that's just a stamp of not good quality. Like a lot of good games, like From the Depth, is made with Unity.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Unity's a good engine. The thing is, they've had some PR issues semi-recently as well.
Oh yeah, they had that too, forcing payment models in the future and stuff like that. And that's question is, since it's not so hard to generate code and stuff, how easy would it be to take the code from the Unity, ask an AI to rewrite the code to a new engine, and then just making that free? So I think due to using AI to also generate code, I think perhaps free software, not like pirate software, but free software by just flipping code using AI can be a problem.
I haven't thought of that. But that's an interesting point, actually. But I guess, I mean, you'd have like software knockoffs. I suppose.
I think that wouldn't be too hard. Now, I'm very basic with code, but
I mean, I know HTML, but I was on. I mean, if you couldn't guess, I was on Tumblr for quite a few years, so I know HTML, but that's about it. But again, speaking of that, and the whole sort of sort of ethical or the ethics debate
Yeah.
around like ownership and copyright and so on and so forth, and sort of artistic integrity wherever AI art is concerned. But I was thinking about that, and I know when I was fucking around with, can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll put a duck sound over it or something. I'm sure. No, whenever I was like messing around with HTML and like that sort of web designy stuff, I would steal so much code.
Yeah.
And I would teach myself just, this is horrible, I should not admit this on like public record, but I would learn just enough on my own, because people would imprint like if you've ever had a Tumblr page, like Tumblr themes, right? People would put their little credit on there, somewhere in the theme, sort of embedded in the code, and I would teach myself just enough so that I would be able to remove that fucking little credit thing without. I don't do this anymore, to be clear. I'm also not on Tumblr anymore, but
it's pretty dead.
It is, unfortunately, RIP, right? But I used to teach myself just enough to be able to remove that little copyright thing, or that little credit thing. And I think already, because I studied, I had like a web design course in high school, and much of what we were taught was like, the teacher, the guy, he would just give us a couple of like resources, like web pages, right? And he's like, okay, go ahead and like rip and lift and steal and do all, like the culture seemed to be very much, and I don't know that this is the case, but the cultures always seem to be very much about like, we'll just borrow something.
Yeah.
Well, we'll, best case, we'll sort of rework it slightly so it's not an exact copy, but a lot of it seemed very iterative.
It's a lot of copy paste already in the web design industry, in working industry, writing email, just copy someone else's and just put in your name.
Which is what my colleagues do. Because again, I'm the email writer at work, right?
But I think it's pretty common, and it just continues with AI. It's just that it goes through an AI filter, so the credit is already moved. Like for GMODISM.com, I don't know if I had a piece of code still, but I have like GMODISM copyright 2020, whatever year it is now, and it just it just gives you the year now.
Yeah.
And that piece of code is just like, I found it somewhere, pasted it
on Wikipedia. I guarantee you.
It's like so simple.
Yeah, because I was wondering about that too, like how Wikipedia does these sort of yearly updates for wherever current years are concerned.
Yeah.
And apparently it's just a piece of code. But I was like,
display current year.
No, literally. And I hadn't thought that far. So I was like, who is updating all of these pages like manually? Like, of course there would be. I wouldn't be surprised if there was somebody who would do that sort of thing, but it's just a piece of code.
Yeah, but there is like one weird guy who is updating so many Wikipedia pages that it's impossible. And nobody knows how he can be so fast, and it's probably an entire development team that's working under his name. But the funny thing is,
Or AI,
right? Or maybe, but it's his personal name, and that's weird. And I think he's one of the founders on Wikipedia as well. But it's kind of like he has a big hand in.
Cool.
His name has, and it's like, why? But definitely, AI is just a new way to steal already completed works.
Exactly,
and it's not good.
No,
but it's also not new.
No.
And it's not different. It's just doing it more efficiently, and without the ability to even leave credit anywhere.
Or even, I think the big problem is it removes sort of, because if you look at a page of code that somebody's edited manually, like by hand, you would be able to tell sort of where something comes from. But with the AI filter, as you put it, you have this sort of thing where you can't really trace the original work back to the you can't really trace the work back to its original creator, which is again why it's become such a big issue in terms of AI art.
I can almost promise you that LinkedIn is probably 85% AI by now. Because the things that people try to write on LinkedIn is so corporate and rounded that AI can just replace any of them probably so easily.
Yeah, no, and of course, specifically with sort of LinkedIn sort of corporate speech again. That's so formulaic. So of course that would be quite simple for
AI
to imitate.
But also AI can imitate specific things. So like if you take all your emails you have ever written, use that as an base for the AI to work with.
Yeah.
Like in ChatGPT, we can do something called assistance, and that's basically a version of ChatGPT using a specific set of instructions.
Right.
So I could probably make like Carry email bot.
Right, of course.
I can take all you just put them in there and make them use your style. But again, that's
old tech. Because do you remember? Did you ever use on Facebook? This is like 10, 15 years ago. You'd have these like little Facebook bot things that would like. There was a specific little like app that would like write a status for you in your style, sort of just rearranging the status updates that you'd made up until that point. They would create a new one, sort of. It was very rudimentary because as far as I could tell, if you wrote something very specific and happened to use that, it was not like iterating on what you wrote, but it was like just lifting bits and pieces of previous things and like making something new out of it. Yeah. So I guess that tech is quite old, really.
It's just a lot better now.
It is, yeah. No, but I've been recently playing and replaying the Tomb Raider remasters that came out like February.
You're a big Tomb Raider fan. These are the actual coasters.
Yes, these are the 2016. I think they released these for the 20th anniversary in 2016. I found them in a shop and I was like, do you know what? These are mine now.
And I haven't even played Tomb Raider yet.
Which
Carrie will almost kill me.
We're working on that. Okay, I actually did not. I don't think I knew that. I probably did know this about you, but I think I've just pushed it out of mind because it's like this is an affront. We're working on it anyway. I've been playing those recently, and the thing about those remasters is the sort of the groundwork for the visual upgrade that's been made is because it's not just upscaled, it's completely they're completely new assets, right?
New textures,
new
3D model,
exactly. And the 3D models are all sort of hand authored, so that's all. I mean, fans were on the dev team, so it's incredible. But the texture work is AI based, like the groundwork for every upgraded texture is based in AI, and you could tell like couple of patches ago because they patched it a couple times. You could tell because it was a little bit rough in some places, but in many other places, and even since now that they've updated it, where they've sort of just added that little bit of human touch to it, where they've gone over the textures by hand and like just
cleaned them up
a little bit, made them more accurate to the source material, so on and so forth. It looks gorgeous. And I was very sort of hesitant to admit this at first, like for myself. I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this, because I would want everything to be handmade, right? But
no human, me out.
No, literally, right? But it's gorgeous. And the thing is, because it has that sort of toggle where you can just like hit a button and then it goes from like the original graphics to the updated ones.
Yeah.
If you get up real close to a wall, you hit that button, every single detail is preserved.
Yeah.
And of course that is partially the work of the AI, but it shows that if you use AI to set the groundwork for you and then you work on top of that, you can achieve some really sort of impressive results.
Yeah.
Because it honestly looks so good.
As long as
the texture work in and of itself, and then there are some other design choices that I don't necessarily agree with, and some things that I think are a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. But just like in terms of the tech being deployed to create those things, it's so impressive, and that turned me a little bit more like
less negative.
Yeah, I became more positive towards the use of AI because
like before that we only had like in Swedish news we had some some tech company and some like American workers had to go home to America because they kind of deleted the entire art department because they moved over to AI.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think the general feeling about AI coming into the artistic workspace has of course been very negative because a lot of people are fearing for their future in
of course. And I think also AI sort of came up around the same time that the well, NFTs were first, right?
Yeah.
But I think many people sort of view AI in the same light that they view NFTs.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, it's a monkey on a colored background, and they're not like it seemed very
2 million bitcoins, yet please.
yeah, it seemed very seemed like a tech bro thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's sort of like, and I'm going to show my colors a little bit here, but I feel like it was sort of comparable to like, you know how the stock market works, where it's like people are. I feel like Can I say something? The stock market is just like gambling.
Yeah.
But it's been made into this sort of socially acceptable thing.
Yeah, it's socially acceptable gambling. It absolutely
is. And I feel the same way a little bit about NFTs and about AI. Like those also fit in that space for me, where it's like you can feed a prompt into an AI.
Yeah.
And it can be as specific as you'd like. Chances are I don't dabble too much in AI, like generative stuff. So I wouldn't know this necessarily, but my feeling is that you could input the exact same prompt into the exact same AI twice or 3 times or 4 times, you'd get 4 different results.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You never get the
so
same.
there's an element of randomness to it that I feel is, because even if something is random and it's human made, there's no like you know how things like ceramics, for example, where they'll be like, oh, it's handmade. The imperfections make it personalized, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, of course those little tiny things exist, but they're all sort of, they look the same. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just feel like
there can be a similar vibe to it, but I also feel that I of course dabbled a good bit with AI and generated a lot of different things. Like I even recently tried to generate some like songs, like music, using Udio, I think it's called, and it's pretty good. Like someone that's professional in music would be able to tell that the different sections are weird. But the thing is, you take your prompt, you roll the dice, and you get 30 seconds of a song.
Yeah.
And you get 2 different versions. So you can say, is this good or is this good?
Yeah.
And chances are neither of them are going to be good, but when you roll the dice like 3 times, you will get one of those like 6 versions of what you want will be pretty good.
Yeah.
And what you then do is you can decide do you want to generate more music before the clip, after the clip, or do you want to make an intro, or do you want to make an outro?
Right.
And every time you do any of those things, you roll the dice again.
Right.
And you have to select. So I did like I think it was like 3 songs for the Patreon page is called Army of GMODISM.
Right.
It's very catered to the creative builders the creative game builders on the channel, because that's the most amount of videos we do about that.
Sure.
And tech tutorial, of course. But anyways, it was in that theme. And it's like with like lyrics in English and Latin, you're able to make it do that.
That's
and
so you though. I'm sorry. And English and Latin. Oh god. Okay, go on.
It's so cringe and it's so fun. It's like a weird. It's like I have this for the like GMODism. There is this GMODism universe who just in like roleplay aspect, which is employed in different games, and then it's of course. The Army of GMODism is, of course, extremely great and big.
I love hearing about this because this is, again, I don't know that you guys would know this, but like I'm not familiar. You know what I mean? With any of this. I mean, we've known each other for like 10 years or whatever, but it's like, this is very, I've sort of made not made an effort. I just haven't like, you know what I mean? Because it gets, this is an unrelated subject, but like, having somebody who knows you in real life, like who's interacting with something like that, which is there's a layer, there's a distance there. Do you know what I mean? That's interesting. Go on. Sorry.
It's very interesting, and it's also good. It's a good reason why I thought that you would be a good co-host, because of course I know that you know a lot about different things and you like to talk about a lot of different things.
I like to talk, period. That's what it is.
And that makes it like a really good dynamic. But for the core videos, as of creative gameplay and as of tech tutorials, you're very not. You don't know a lot about.
Not necessarily, no.
You just-
No, but I was just thinking about the channel lore.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, oh, that's fun. Like
That is fun, and the thing, the channel lore, like, of course, you know about the different games I play, but you don't play most of those
No,
games.
that's true.
You're more in the like role play experience part of the games, and most of those games I'm doing live on Twitch.
Like
too.
my understanding is that you're not really doing a lot of Gmod content anymore.
No,
I would assume
that was
you're not
that was
anyway.
the like first beginnings of the channel. So
Exactly.
the channel was called GMODISM because of Garry's Mod, because that's where the channel started.
And I it's funny you would mention roleplay because most of what I would do on Gmod back in the day would be those like roleplay cider roleplay things. You know, that was fun. That was fun for me, and that sort of colored my. I mean, I was playing video games before then, of course, as well. But I that's always been that sort of. It's not necessarily the role playing in and of itself that I enjoy always, but it's the simulation and how detailed that simulation can get.
That's pretty cool, and of course we do some Garry's Mod still, but we really moved over to the game.
They released like a new thing that's completely separate from Source and Valve, right? I don't remember the name of it now.
Probably the work in progress.
Yeah, there's
Sandbox.
yeah, Sandbox, right? That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that works, but the channel lore for the channel, it's not very old. It's coming out. It's something that has been rolling out like the past year, especially with the Patreon page. That's kind of how it started, the idea behind it. Yeah. And then just for fun, I just wanted to have some kind of background story.
Sure.
And
that's fun. I like that.
Yeah, that will of course be coming up more. Yeah. But it is a little bit new too, so it's not everything is in my head, but not a lot of it has been presented.
Right.
Most people who know about it are deep in the different challenges we have in this specific game from the depth, which is extremely engineering heavy.
Oh god.
Like people joke about, like the running joke is, if you want to play from the depth, you either need to have a diagnosis on the autism spectra,
or an engineering degree. Or both.
Preferably both.
Right, yeah.
So, of course, that doesn't describe the average player.
No.
But it does tell you that you will have a very hard time playing the game if you're not extremely into engineering details, small things, physics things.
Yeah.
It gets complex. And, of course, a very big creative mind of doing 3D things.
I was trying to explain to a friend yesterday what a gyroscope is, and I don't have the vocabulary or the understanding of physics, like the jargon, to explain that to her. So I asked her just to Google it, and she Googled it, and she pulled up like an image of a gyroscope, basically. But I was trying to. This was actually about Eurovision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Loreen, the final number, you know, where she's on the little chair, and she was strapped into it, of course. But my friend was like, "How is she like staying on that thing?" Because she was gyrating, she was not ovulating. Well, maybe, who knows?
I thought it looked like she was just strapped into like a bug.
I mean, she had a little diaper thing on.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked gorgeous, but she was really sort of doing all these movements, and you know, my friend was like, "Oh, her core strength must be incredible." And I was like, "I think the chair is just like a gyroscope, you know, right, where it stays centered, even though she's making all of these movements." I don't know.
I think it's just bolted to the ground.
I think so. We didn't get that far anyway, because I was like, she was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I don't have the."
I don't think she would enjoy from the depth.
I can't. I don't think so. I mean, neither would I. But I mean, I get what's the most sort of, if we're talking like real time strategy, which I know this is not what this is, but that's like adjacent to me.
Yeah.
I would say what's the nerdiest I get? I like Age of Empires, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And I play it very casually. I play the Sims. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so. Don't ask me how that works. Okay?
Everyone hates this specific title, but I have to confess I really like The Settlers 5: Heritage of Kings.
I haven't heard about that one. Again, I'm not it. This is a
It was
gaming
the
that I'm not
first
into.
and only Settlers game I really played so far.
Okay.
But when it came out, it was very not the Settlers.
Okay.
They kind of went in a new direction, and a lot of people were very frustrated about that. But as being the first RTS game, I think it's from 2005 I played, we actually played it on the channel, mostly live, but on YouTube. We need to play the expansions too. But anyways, it's pretty cool. It's a classic. It's, similar to Age of Empires. It's the same, like, medieval
Cool
vibe.
Yeah. AI.
That's what...
That's what we were talking about. We went on a journey. You were talking about the lore, and then I.
Then we
interrupted
just...
you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's absolutely no problem.
It's gonna happen, right?
And one thing I do want to say, if you are listening to this on your favorite platform for podcasts, there is a YouTube version if you want to see these two weirdos.
I put
In
makeup
real
on for
time.
this. I didn't shave my legs, but you can't see them too well, so that's okay. I put makeup on for this. Please, like, honor my efforts here. I know I have the voice of like a. How would you describe my voice? AI generated. If you put like some sort of offensive stereotype into an AI prompt generator, this is what would come out. And I'm at peace with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm here for
It's
it.
okay. we even got proper lighting to
Yeah.
for this.
First time I've been under a box light, so I like it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully people won't be too bored of these tangents. But I think we were trying to talk about, will AI help or just mess up
Help or hinder.
help or hinder? Hjälpa eller stjälpa?
Hjälpa eller stjälpa, as they
Help.
say
Help.
in the mother tongue. No, but I think as an assistive thing, it's definitely, it has a place, and it's had a place.
Yeah.
You know, like I saw something again on Twitter about because I be on that app too much,
Poor thing.
too much for my own good. I saw this little thing where somebody had like misunderstood. They were talking about like, oh, they were using AI for lip flaps,
Yeah.
like lip syncing and
Okay.
cutscenes and stuff. And that's something that's been in use for a very long time.
Right.
Like as far as I can tell, and from what people were saying, people have not been hand animating like lip flaps for mouth movements for speech for a long time. But then
Alright.
there was like a small little thing where somebody was like, oh, they're using AI for this, and then it was like there was a bit of drama about it, but then it turned out like, no, this is how they've basically always done it. And I think that's sort of just the path that we need to continue on. Like, just keep iterating on what we're already doing in terms, instead of outright replacing. It's not even, honestly, for me, it's not even necessarily about like replacing people with real people with real jobs, because that's also always going to happen. Like the state of the game industry right now is a little bit, so it's
The AAA side hasn't been able to produce titles that the general public is happy with for kind of a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I mostly play indie games, and that
I mean, well, I think
Tomb Raider is kind of...
it occupies a weird space where I think they're not in Square Enix's hands anymore, thank God. But then Embracer bought them out, and it like corporate wise, it's in a weird space, but they've always sort of tried to pass it off as like a AAA thing. I very firmly believe that it's a AA experience at best.
Yeah.
And I think it should go indie.
It's almost that the gaming industry is the point that the fewer A's you have in your development,
The better it is.
The better it is.
No, but the problem is the budgets, right?
Yeah.
Because they keep, and that's why we also take any Ubisoft game from the past 10 years. They are more or less interchangeable. It's like Marvel movies, you know what I mean? Where it's like you're basically seeing the same movie 3 times a year.
So, yeah, it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, because it's just sort of like pig chow a little bit, and I feel horrible saying that because of course real people are involved in this, and they are like their work should be respected, but at the same time, I feel like the budgets are so enormous, and the development of like a AAA game these days takes like whatever the lifespan is of the console itself, whichever console it is at any given time. Let's say the PS5, right? Games can be in development for so long that by the time they come out,
they're obsolete.
Yeah, they're already obsolete, or they're on software that's about to become obsolete. And that's also why we basically only ever see like new IPs come out of indie developers or indie development studios, because again, everything else is just sequels and remakes.
They're trying to rehash it
because they want that built-in fan base, because they need to make the money back. Yeah. Which is also why prices have been hiked up for buying video games in general.
Oh, and people just need to stop pre-ordering. If people won't stop pre-ordering, the AAA is not going to be improved.
I'm guilty of this. Not too often, to be honest with you. Do you know what I'll do? I'll buy something the day before it comes out. I won't. It's very rare that I'll pre-order something months in advance. I'll usually get it on release day or just like one night before, if there's like a pre-order thing. Because I'm a completionist, which is horrible. I know it's not. I should not be feeding into these business practices. But if there's a shiny little trinket that's like a pre-order exclusive, I fucking want it. Yeah. And the heart wants what it wants, and I'm a captive to my desires. You know what I mean? Like I have to have what I want.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. If you really want those things, it's it's your money at the end of the day, and if you want that, you want that. But I'm also somewhat of a completionist. But I kind of think like I first do the main thing before I start with the expansions. Thing is, I rarely get done with it. I've been side questing in Skyrim for 10 years. I still haven't done the main campaign.
Yeah, well, I don't even play Skyrim because the minute I install it, I'm like, "Ooh, let's mod it," and then I end up modding it for.
Maybe we can get some AI to mod.
Do you know what? I'm sure that's already happening though.
Maybe
because people do like something in game modding that I've seen a lot is audio.
Yeah,
audio, like AI audio, like
voiceovers with
voiceovers, especially with
some voiceovers with like games with not a very good budget can be so bad. Yeah, it's so horrible. They could probably do a better job with AI.
I mean, there is a charm to it though. Sometimes,
but some of the time it's just
like the classic example is like the original like Resident Evil, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Elisa. I don't know if you've played Elisa. That's a good one. You should play that if you're into that sort of thing. But that also has like very intentionally sort of awkward sort of B-movie voice acting, and it works. But again, that's because it feeds into the the art direction and everything else. Like it's the presentation is coherent and cohesive, and that's another thing about AI that I think could be a challenge. Of course, you're always going to have somebody, a human, at the end of the line, sort of nixing or ixnaying, I think is the word I'm thinking of. Anyway, nixing, like there's always a human at the end of the line who's going to say yes or no to all of these things. But I think, again, the issue that you run into with AI, especially if it were to replace human work, the human touch on a larger scale, is that you end up with a product that is stylistically incoherent. Yeah. And even worse if it were to sort of go as far as like AI code and stuff like that, where it's like, I don't know if I can't think of any examples right now, but I'm sure you can think of maybe like, whenever you play a game and you feel like the game mechanics are sort of fighting each other a little bit, where it's like it wants you to do one thing and then it wants you to do another. Again, I have a Tomb Raider example for this. Yeah. The reboot games. God, I'm sorry. The latest one. Beautiful return. Everybody hated it except for me, but I'm weird, so that's fine.
You pre-ordered it. Yeah.
I absolutely fucking did on 2 platforms.
Oh no.
But again, I have a pass there.
You're so guilty, but continue.
I am. No, beautiful return to form. It was very like it went very much back to the basics of like exploration and platforming. insofar as you're able to even create that sort of game, because again, it's a AAA title, so it has to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Basically, it has to appeal to a very wide audience.
Yeah.
So you can't really have that sort of, like, in my opinion, again with Tomb Raider specifically, imagine like a Soulsborne kind of thing, but it's a puzzle platformer. That's what Tomb Raider should be like, for me. But of course, they have to make it in such a way that it's like Uncharted or any other like action adventure sort of third-person thing. And again, chasing trends, following trends, which again comes from the boardroom, presumably. I wouldn't say that's necessarily like something...
They only want to make money.
Of course, right? So it's like, oh, this is trendy, we'll put that in. So the latest game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, right, had this humongous upgrade tree, like with skills and upgrades and an experience point system. It was a whole thing. The problem is the previous two games were a little bit more action heavy. So you gained XP through killing shit, basically, which is fine, right? And then you could feed, and then the whole sort of upgrade system sort of fed into the combat even more, and it was very combat heavy. And then when Shadow sort of went back to being less combat focused, they still had the experience point system, and most of the sort of the skills and everything were combat related. So it was like you have this whole thing, this whole game system that really doesn't feed into the rest of the game very much. And that was disappointing. That's something that I sort of sat with for a while, and I was like, this is one of those things that this is an area where they really should have sort of stepped back and like axed it, probably.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like you have to get into let me, like, let's say you had to get into outright combat like 4 times throughout the entire game, and that's a 12-hour campaign. Well, 8-hour campaign, right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's like 3 or 4 times that you actually have to fight stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole system dedicated to combat encounters, the majority of which you don't even have to get into.
Yeah.
What's the point? You know? And I feel like that's sort of the danger that we'd run into with AI, because again, AI is built on models and algorithms and all this sort of stuff, which are dictated by trends, essentially, or corporate input.
It can probably make a very advanced system which is not going to be used.
Exactly.
And I think that AI could perhaps flesh out an entire system and universe which is very advanced but has so much details, and where the different systems accidentally kind of fight each other, is what I understand you want to say.
Or overlap.
Or it's just too complex for something that's never going to be really used.
Yeah.
And then it ends up just being that you get into a game, just get completely daunted. You have so many complex things, and you don't know what is important.
Yeah.
When we have a human developer, they're kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And they usually put in the work where it actually matters.
Yeah.
And that's when we get like a good product.
Yeah.
It's like for example, like Minecraft has some different mini games and systems working with each other.
Yeah.
And everything has a purpose. Yeah. But if you would have a entire system you have to learn about, something that doesn't even matter, you would just be confused. It's like if you're just gonna use Minecraft as a farming simulator or whatever,
right,
you're gonna waste so much time if you want to learn, I don't know, brewing.
Of course.
But if that would be a system if our Minecraft was only a farming like simulator, and you would have the entire brewing system, and you were like, oh, that's so complex, and I can't really use it.
No.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
So that's probably the hard thing.
Which is also why Minecraft updates take so long to come out. I know that's been an issue for people, where it's like, because they don't add very much with every update.
No.
But I think what people underestimate is that everything has to sort of mesh.
They have to add a little piece in a super big system.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you played much Minecraft?
Of course. I mean, not. Let's put it this way. I've put a couple dozen hours into it, maybe even 100, maybe even 200. But I'm not like I would not, like, as far as like what's let me think of a good example here. I would not know how to like. Well, you know what? I could maybe make a door out of redstone. Do you know what I mean? But that's like as far as like I'm not very advanced. I just again.
I don't feel it's very advanced either. It's mostly design. So.
It's yeah, but again, my sort of interest with Minecraft lies in sort of the exploration aspect, which also does get a little bit boring.
Maybe we should start playing that on Twitch.
Maybe that could be something.
That could be something. You have the Java, I hope.
Of course.
Well, good.
I had to repurchase it like 4 times.
Oh,
so again, I've repurchased it 4 times. So there you go. I do play it.
Big supporter on Microsoft.
Unfortunately, yes. Oh God, especially now with the studio closures and oh God, let's not talk about that. That's another thing.
That's probably a very big episode. Yeah. But I think that we probably have went over time.
Probably
a lot for this pilot episode.
I think so.
And I do want to say thank you very much for listening to this first little iteration. And hopefully you will choose to join us in the future as well. You can, again, watch this via YouTube if you want to see us. If you just want to listen to us, well, we are on the platform you found us on. It's most simple. And if you want to support this stream, there is you can join the ministry on GMODISM using Fourth Wall. It will be a link to that in the description. You can also join the YouTube channel. That works pretty well too. And with that, I think we say bye-bye for this time.
I think so. Let's see if this ever sees the light of day.
Yes, that will be interesting to look at afterwards and see how it works. But anyways, hopefully you are hearing this and you are enjoying it and giving it the support you want and watch time and likes and whatever, how it works on Spreaker or whatever all those platforms are called, which I don't know.
I don't know. I find it so funny, the whole like
podcasting.
The podcasting where it's like on your favorite platform and it's always like so non-specific. There's so many of them. I didn't realize.
I don't know.
And I'm like, okay, Spotify, Apple Music, I guess, but it's like, what else? You know,
it's like Spotify, Apple Music, Spreaker. There is Google Podcast using YouTube Music.
Oh yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
And of course, it's going to go up there automatically since it's going to be put on YouTube. And I don't know if there are more platforms. Maybe you who find this will
let us know.
Let us know. Anyway,
that was a call to action. I know my stuff. I've never done this before.
You do. But... Well, anyways, thanks a lot for checking in on this podcast. We'll be back, I hope.
See you guys.